In another blow to Boeing, NASA is choosing Elon Musk's SpaceX to help bring home the two American astronauts stuck in space on a Boeing spacecraft. Now, the two astronauts, Suni Williams and Bill Nelson, have been stuck there in space for about 11 weeks following issues with Boeing's Starliner. Now, the mission was originally only supposed to last 8 days. Problems began when multiple of Starliner's reaction control thrusters failed. It's a very spacey sci-fi term, as it traveled to the International Space Station. Plus, the spacecraft's helium systems also started leaking.
Now, in a statement, NASA said, quote, the uncrewed return allows NASA and Boeing to continue gathering testing data on Starliner during its upcoming flight home, while also not accepting more risk than necessary for its crew. Wilmore and Williams, who flew the International Space Station in June aboard NASA's Boeing crew flight test, have been busy supporting station research, maintenance, and Starliner system testing and data analysis, among other activities. SpaceX's crew will launch no earlier than September 24th. So our tax dollars are going to good use. Elon Musk's engineers who work there at SpaceX as employees are paid by government dollars. SpaceX is primarily a government contractor. They've been paid with $15.3 billion in awarded contracts since 2003. I saw a very funny post on X that said, I hope my tax dollars are going well and there's some kind of romance happening up there or something. It's what I want my tax dollars to be used for. They can't just be up there in chaos, which is nice. We might get a nice Netflix special to come of this, Robbie.
Yeah, it's like that movie Passengers is what it makes me think of, which is a pretty interesting movie. But I will look, if you object to your tax dollars being spent on space stuff, that's fine. I object to my tax dollars being spent on just about anything, but they're up there, and NASA can't rescue them on their own. Federal government can't do anything about it on their own. Boeing is incompetent again, so who's coming to the rescue? Elon Musk, rapidly becoming one of the most hated men on the planet for the mainstream media and progressives and the left. But SpaceX is what's being relied on here to rescue these astronauts. I was reading a little bit more closely about the situation. So Boeing asserts that everything's fine. We could definitely get them back. No problems. But the NASA board that looked at the issue voted unanimously to say, no, we're going to go with Elon Musk now because this is not reliable. So it is another blow to Boeing at a time where a lot of people are looking at that company and saying, what the hell is going on with all of this incompetence?
Now, I mean, it's fair to say that SpaceX would not exist without NASA. They bailed out SpaceX in 2008, and SpaceX is essentially the government. They're primarily a government contractor. So this idea that it's uniquely Elon Musk doing this, I mean, government dollars are paying engineers and astronauts at SpaceX to do their work. So I mean, Elon Musk isn't the one creating the rockets, nor flying the planes, nor fronting the Capitol. So I don't really see this as Elon Musk saving the day here. I do absolutely see this as another failure for Boeing. I really think Boeing's got to face some consequences for the failures of their airlines to be regulated properly, or rather the planes that are flown by the airlines to be regulated properly. You have pilots that are flying planes that you have whistleblowers saying should not be flown. And so I think it's time for a thorough investigation into Boeing's both spacecraft and aircraft. It's crazy they keep getting away with this.
Yeah, I fully support space developments in this sector of the economy being left to private industry, private exploration, rather than government subsidy. You say this is a government, they're a contractor, right? The government wants to do this space stuff, for lack of a better term, and has contracted with Boeing for some of it, is contracting with SpaceX now for other aspects of it. If you want to take the position that the government shouldn't fund any of this and just get out of the business of space travel and leave it to the private sector, I'm fine with that. I absolutely do want to see development and innovation along this front. I want us to become a multi-planet species. We should colonize the moon and Mars, and that is what Elon Musk's stated goal is with SpaceX. So I, fully support private industry leading the way there. I don't think it's quite right to say that a contract means you're a government agency, but I don't disagree that the government spend our tax dollars on this or really anything else. We can just let the private industry find a market for it, and if there's a market for it, people will pay as they are paying, and it can take off that way.
Yeah, I mean, of course, SpaceX isn't a government agency, but they do primarily operate with government funds, $15.3 billion. That's just all to say crediting Elon Musk for this mission and saving the astronauts would be silly, given he's not an astronaut, nor is a space engineer, nor fronted the capital for this mission. So I just think it's silly that if he tries to take credit for it or people give him credit for it, it's just not giving credit where credit is
I
due.
guess I'm being a silly goose because I'm giving him some credit.
Yeah, I don't think he deserves it. I think the good engineers at SpaceX and the astronauts who fly with SpaceX and will be on the crew of that flight deserve all the credit in the world. And yeah, it sounds like they do believe from the articles I've read about what's going on with this craft that was designed by Boeing is that they do believe it can dock and redock successfully, and they do think that they could fly home on it. It's just that there would be less risk if they came aboard the SpaceX craft. And so I think that's great. It's probably much lower risk than the original, trips we took to the moon and space station initially, but it's good that we can make the crew that's going to space as safe as possible. It's got to be incredibly scary to go up there and be worried about coming back home. But a lot of the folks who write about this are like, oh, it's being totally blown out of the water or it's out of proportion, because what we're experiencing now is a spacecraft that has demonstrated all of the abilities necessary to make the trip home. It's just because of these, failures in certain systems that have been mitigated that they're not going to take the risk, which is good. They should minimize risk as much as possible.
Yeah. All right, more Rising right after this.